Jake the Snake, how are you, brother?
Good, mate. It's a pleasure to be on.
Mate, how
join
exciting.
a list of some great names.
Mate, it's not many demand us flying to their home state as well to sort of get us on. We had to get the Airbnb ready to go. You didn't want to come to Melbourne. You said get on that Virgin and get over here.
Yeah, mate. Come down to Cod. I'm just around the corner. It's me 8x5.
It's an absolutely beautiful place. So WA, we in all seriousness, we get back here as much as we can. We're over for a few things at the moment and thought it'd be a good time to catch up because I know I've been really keen to get you on the pod for a while, mate. And your year this year has been incredible, but 10-year overnight success, as we always like to say, there's a lot to sort of go behind the scenes. And you're a very funny man. You're a very handsome man. You got the mullet. You've got the big chest. You've got the big shoulders, Darcy. We ran this morning down Cottesloe. I feel like you do a lot of damage down there.
Nah, mate. I stay very clear from the catwalk, as we like to call it. But it's beautiful down here this time of year. It's starting to get nice and warm, and it looks like you need a bit of colour yourself, mate. So
I just got back from Bali, brother. I'm looking hot. I'm looking really hot. This is like as dark as I get. Unfortunately, that's a whack. Who's on the catwalk you were saying before? Who's like a synonymous catwalker at the Eagles, or even in Perth in general?
I'm not going to throw boys under the bus.
No, you can.
Okay, Campbell Chesser. He's one of our young boys.
He's handsome.
He's a handsome man, and when we train in the off season, we always train together. He's the first one to get the shirt off. Like no sweat on skin yet. It's just got to come off, and he gets very dark. He spends a lot of time out in the yard tanning up, and he loves the eyes on him. So the catwalk along the coast, especially a bit north from here, he's quite to his liking. It's
a beautiful coastline. In all seriousness, we love it. We went for a run this morning. We did a little 5K. I had a kick at Cottesloe footy club, the junior footy club down there. I need to actually send an apology. I tore it up.
Oh yeah, I'm out. No, I reckon I've done that a few times down there as well back in the day.
Are they okay with it if you apologise?
Yeah, mate. Actually, around here,
not as much.
Not as much, okay. Mate. That type of people. We
went for a swim and a surf, and we didn't surf. Sorry, a swim. A run, and it's just an incredible way to start the day. WA, and it's a beautiful place. We love it, and it's got a lot of positives. But I suppose actually today it'd be interesting to chat to you about, as you said, your journey, the year it's been, and even the year this year has been at West Coast. Like yourself, what a polarizing year, if that even makes sense, in terms of like all Australian career best year for personally yourself, but then like one of the worst years ever for the club. That's pretty weird, hey?
Yeah, it's.
Congratulations.
Thank you, mate. It means a lot. When I get asked about this year, it's always a weird answer because you can't help but sort of reflect individually and go, yeah, like that was amazing. Like I'm still reflecting it at the moment. I still quite haven't processed what's actually happened, but I've always been someone that is a team man, like worries about the collective first. And mate, I reckon we've won the 5 games this year. We've played some really good footy. We've played some shit-house footy, to be honest. But I reckon we left a couple out there as well. So, if we had taken those wins when we had them, you're looking at sort of 7, maybe 8 wins, and then all of a sudden it's quite different. But, I think the consistency is something with our team that regardless of wins and losses is something that we're just probably falling behind the 8 ball a bit in terms of competition. It's just so tough out there at the moment. It's the tightest it's ever been. And if you don't rock up, ready to go on game day, you get smoked. But individually, bit of a whirlwind, it's crazy stuff.
So much to talk about in that. I want to park because I want to go into depth about your own personal year in itself. But just to go back on West Coast while we're on the topic, it's really interesting because I've had this, and I suppose people from WA might listen to this and be like, you have no idea what you're talking about. But I remember watching West Coast in 2018, thinking like, fucking hell, this team is going to be like, they're going to win like 10 flags. Like 10's probably an exaggeration, but they're going to win like 3 or 4 flags, and just struggled. I know like a lot of injuries and list turnover and whatever it was, but it's just been like, I've almost felt like in footy, and correct me if I'm wrong if you can relate to this, sometimes when you're in the 4 walls of a football club or even a business, if people relate to this, and you're just so fucking in it, you actually like cook yourself. Yeah. And you just like overdo it. Is that what like maybe you felt like it's been the last couple of years?
100%. And I think when you're losing and when you're battling, the place just, or when we as boys compare sort of inside the four walls to when we were humming sort of 18, 19, bit of 20 to now, it's just like, it is different because, you know, when you're winning, you're sort of rolling up with a smile on your face, you're playing good footy, you're just sort of flowing along. And then the opposite is when you're losing, you're playing shit footy, you've got no idea sort of like where your future's going collectively, individually. It's just like, it does become a bit of a drag, but, you know, we speak a lot about, you know, the resilience factor of like being a footballer and how one day that's going to turn. But yeah, man, it's like when you're in it, you don't quite process it because you just like one thing after another. You've always got something on the go. But yeah, mate, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't times over the last few years where I just had enough. Like, I'm not the only one there. I mean, all over the comp, there's boys going through that same thing where it just becomes too much and you forget why you're actually playing the game. And sort of off the back of my last year where I wasn't playing, that's sort of what turned me around a little bit in sort of the perspective, gratitude sort of arena. Yeah,
no, it's a great point. The point as well around like sometimes when you're in those positions, and we do a Footy and Friends podcast with Mick Barlow, and I sort of speak to him about this a little bit too, because you've been a part of a really successful club, and then, you know, when you get to the other end at the moment, and things can turn so quickly. But there's always that conundrum in your head, and I even have this sometimes in work and in life and in everything. It's like there's two ways you can go, right? And you sort of battle in this. Well, I do anyway. It's like you just keep fucking working harder and go like, it's got to turn because I'm doing the work, and at least then I know I'm putting in the work, so it's going to turn. Or you go the other way and you go, fuck, I just need to relax and step all the way back. But it's all like trying to find like a happy medium in the middle and enjoy the moments too, because it's tough.
Man, it's funny you say that. Like, at the end of the year, I'm sort of in that conundrum myself at the moment, is because last year I had a really good pre-season. I started my off-season a little bit earlier once I come back from illness, and I did the work, like really good foundation. And now I've sort of played a whole year of footy, and this time I want to redo it. And sort of, I know I've got the recipe there, I want to do it again, but, you know, I've sort of got to take a back step and I've got to let my body heal. So, mate, I'm shocking when it comes to that stuff. I've got like, I get like some real internal battles going on about that sort of stuff. And I know it's unrelated to sort of what you were talking about, but
no, it's exactly,
it's like, man, when you're working so hard over and over again and you just don't see the results, which is probably where I've sort of sat for the first chunk of my sort of career, it just gets a bit disheartening at times. And then, you know, there's other guys, and when you take another look at it, what you were saying is just like, take a step back, like, let's just try to relax a little bit, just sort of smell the fruits a bit and just like sit back and relax. It's funny how sort of things turn, but yeah, I've always been someone that likes to get the work done and sort of just use that as a foundation for everything I do. Yeah,
there's stepping back sometimes, like doing nothing is actually incredibly hard. Like we were just talking before about, you're going to Bali in a few days.
Yeah, tomorrow.
How good's that? I was just there, and I was with Juz and Max, my boy, and I was so keen to get over there and have a relax. Said to Darcy, like, I left my laptop in Melbourne, was going to like detox like the whole week, get off my phone, everything. Man, like, I'm not saying it was probably like the hardest week of my life. Yeah. To not do anything. Yeah. And I'm not saying that in the sense of like work ethic. It's actually the opposite of like, I was so insecure about like not being able to continue posting and like the podcasts and working, which is the same thing as like maybe football and training, that I was like scared to not do anything because I'd lose it. It's this fucking fear that you have. Mate. And I listened to this Jack Steele podcast actually, and from the Inspired Unemployed. Yep. You should listen to it because it's like relatable in a sense of different workplaces around that stuff too. And it's like, it's actually not a good thing, but it's a really hard thing to sort of come to terms with actually.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, the rest sounds great. Yeah. But when you get to those moments and you're lying on your daybed or whatever and you're just chilling, like your brain just races, like so many things. Like, you know, I'll start thinking, oh, there's other blokes out there doing something right now. Yeah. Like, you know, you
can't actually relax.
But mate, that's why we're doing what we're doing, because like sort of a normal person just like might just chill. But yeah, it's the pros and cons of sort of being the way we are and trying to just like continually get better. And mate, if you're playing elite footy, you're doing great. Like it comes with it, you know what I mean?
It's a price of admission,
as they say. Isn't it?
Got to pay the ticket. Got to pay the entry fee, unless you skip the lines. It's the one other point I had on that was around. I'm reading this book at the moment, and it's a new book because I've been talking about this one book for like 4 years.
Yeah.
And last night I was actually on a plane and I met a guy who was reading The Mountain Is You, which is a book I talk about a lot. So it was a cool little moment. But I'm reading this new book. I'm actually in 2 books at the moment. It's called Stolen Focus, trying to get off my phone. It talks about like how your phone and internet and like emails and all those sort of things is just like everywhere.
Yep.
And it talks about how like we're so like driven to just like continually check everything. But even if you take that away, you're still going to have that notion with like other things in your life. Long story short, I'm getting to a point. And then it starts talking about the only way you can actually fill your time and fix your brain, like rewire it to like be comfortable in the silence. You know, we're talking about before, like you can't sit still and you feel like stuff, is to do things that when you're in flow state. So I know if like, you know, a lot of people know what flow state is around, like you could talk about it when you're playing footy or whatever it is that you do. And there's 2 things that I worked out when I'm in flow state. Like footy wasn't for me flow state. I think people would probably agree with me that wasn't a flow state situation. Very rare. One time. One time. You ever kicked 3 on the G?
Yes, I have. Yeah, once against Hawthorn. Yeah, so...
How many were there?
Jesus.
Did you win?
Yes, we did.
Don't know.
I reckon you've been playing in front of 50 more thousand.
Yeah, it's harder in front of a big crowd. It's harder to get in flow state when you're doing that.
Right, yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the point. My 2 things that I realised that I do when I'm in flow state that help me like actually get out of my head and just do things. One's podcasting. In a very engaging conversation. I'm not checking my phone. If I look at my phone, you know that it's not a good one. But the other thing I do that has helped me out so much is when I'm in like my backyard doing like mowing, gardening, for some reason ripping up like cardboard in the bin, like getting jobs done around the house for me is like the best thing I can do to switch off. Because it's like you're doing it, you've like got a task at hand, you want to finish it, and then I like just feel good about it. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely does. And
what would your flow state be besides football and stuff?
Like, mate, the bad thing about the flow state for me is like I don't appreciate it when I'm in it. Yeah. So like when I'm sorry, I know you said outside football, but when you're out playing footy and it's going shit house, like your brain's just going a million miles an hour. The worst thing ever. When you're killing it, and you know I've had a few games this year where it's just like you could be 1 on 5. You just want the ball. Like you're like, I want this ball. And there's other games where you just like kick it as far away from me as possible. And it's not until like you finish the game and look back at it, you're like, shit, like that's the epitome of where I want to live. Yeah. But it's just, it's very rare. Like you need to, I don't know what the percentage would be. I reckon it'd be like 90-10 in terms of like 10% flow state, the 90% you're not in it and it's not ideal. But yeah, it's one of those things that, and it's probably similar to a lot of other great things in life, is you don't actually get to appreciate it when you're in it. And I know TB on the pod, he spoke about that as well. Yeah. And his was more of the meditation sort of stuff. And it's similar. Everyone's got their little different sort of things that they call about it. But it's a funny one, man. And I would much rather live in that flow state out in the footy field than not. But it's just the sort of the price of admission that you said before. Do you have I've got a question about Tom Barrass in a moment as well. He's left me on red a couple of times. Yeah, no, he's shocking. Is he shocking? I was going to ask. Bad, like, I thought I'd done something wrong because I thought we shared something pretty special. No, I think he did, but he's just didn't give a fuck. Useless, he must be meditating still or something. I'm not sure. He might be back in Sri Lanka doing. He's actually in Roto at the moment. There you go. Okay, no reception. Yeah. The flow state thing. I encourage you though to find something outside of football to be a flow state. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard. Like the one for me that's so obvious is like sport and playing golf and stuff. But when I'm doing that, I'm checking my phone. I'm in it. You know, you're not like there. And I can tell you, I've never been in flow state on the golf course. Ever. Oh mate, I can't. Yeah. Anyway, hey, mate, give us look. Don't even give us a quick one. Give us the rundown of how you explain the start of your career to where it's got to now. I think something that I really love about what you've been able to do with not knowing it intimately is, you know, father-son pick, which, you know, I know the somewhat stresses that come with that. You know, for me personally, I can't comment on yours. I never felt too much stresses. Like it's just it's not that big of a deal. All the pressure is that you put on yourself, but
you know, doing that. Quite a low pick actually in the draft.
Yeah, last pick.
That's pretty low.
Yeah, it was a long night.
Really?
Had the news team around there.
Fuck.
Paul Bass was there for about 5 hours.
What's going through your head draft night? You got the news cameras there and your last picked in there. Did you know you were going to go?
Yeah, because I was father son, so
Of
it's
course.
like you're going to get picked. But it was like I sort of knew. I didn't have much interest elsewhere, but there was a few teams where I was like, you know, unless you're getting bidded on inside the top 25, 30, like there's no point because West Coast would just match it. Yeah. But it was good that night. My best mate, Joshy Rotham, who's still with us on the list now, and I'm his best man for his wedding at the end of the year, got picked that day. I think my family was happy when he got picked because I was just like, yes, I've got a mate to go with me. Yeah, long night, but once it got called out, just like, oh, you know the feeling. It's just like, wow. It's like, yeah, all right, here we go. It's starting now, and then your next life begins as soon as that pick gets called out. First year was injured, didn't play. I actually got in the squad to play for the last game ever at Subi against Adelaide when we won to get in the finals. That was a big one, but it was never going to play.
What year is this, sorry?
2017. 2018, played the first game at Optus, round 1. Buddy kicked 8, kicked a snag. It was a good day. Ended up playing I played 17 games in the premiership year.
Wow.
Yeah, so looking back on that now, I don't know how I dealt with that because, you know, if that happened to me now, I'd be no good.
So did you get released out of the team? Like, did you get dropped?
Yeah, I got dropped. So I played the first 15, I think, and towards the end of that 15, we lost Darling, Kennedy, and Lacrosse because they all got injured. And then sort of the forward line just changed and we struggled a little bit, had a couple of losses, fell out of form and got dropped once, come back in, got dropped again, was done. You know what footy's like with selections. The coach is either on you or he's not. Like he goes through sort of phases where he's loving you and phases where you're not it for him. And I probably fell into that category at the wrong time. Looking back on it now, I wish I just went and banged on the door and just went and did anything to get his attention and just try and slide me in there, but wasn't to be. I played some good footy in the waffle at the back end, but still couldn't get in. And watching the boys though was like amazing because I understood the significance of it with guys like Lecker who end up retiring after that year. You know, JK, like my best mates now, like Cripper, Bunga, Gov, like I was just so happy for them that, you know, my disappointments were sort of pushed to the side. And
is that true? Am I an arsehole? Because I don't like. I just struggled to ever feel like that. Like, of course you're happy for them, but
for me at that time I was only 19. It actually was because playing for West Coast, I felt that we were going to get another chance, and also deep down, I didn't think I was in the best 22 because I played the first. And you're younger. Yeah, I played the first few games because Kennens was out, and I was like, yeah, I'm just warming his seat, like he's going to come back in. But I was playing really good, and I was playing a few different roles, and I stayed in, and we won 11 on the trot, and that was just like pretty cool. But yeah, I think now is a completely different story because it's like, no, I'm in it. I'm one of the key players. It's like, I reckon I would have struggled, but. That was cool experience to celebrate that with the boys. It was a fun few days. And then 19 started out of the team, come back in, played finals. We had the sort of stuff going down with Willie, which sort of threw us off a little bit before the Geelong game. I reckon we cooked that one. Now I think if we got through Geelong that night, I reckon we would have been a real good chance to go all the way.
Not to go into specifics there, but so in 19, refresh my memory, you're still around the mark year after the granny, and then
I think we were better as a
team.
Better. I reckon there was a general consensus that we were sort of better that year, and we were in the top 4, and we lost to the Hawks. I think the last round of the year, second last round, and we went down to 6, and we blew that. Beat Essendon, smoked Essendon in an elimination final. Then went and played Geelong at the G.
Couldn't have been Essendon in a final.
Yeah,
was it?
Somehow, they snuck in.
Were they in
elimination? Yeah.
Really? Essendon?
Yeah, Thursday night, Optus. Yep.
They couldn't.
It was about 50 points.
I thought they haven't played.
No, I haven't won a final.
Oh, they haven't won a final.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then Geelong, we were actually leading at 3/4 time, and then I think Danger just went absolutely berserk in the last quarter. Went down by about 3 goals, and then COVID, and then just a whole lot of
injuries,
and actually had my best year in 2020 other than this year, just because I was out of contract. I started outside the team for the first sort of 5 games of the year, and we were struggling in Gold Coast, and then I come in and started playing really well, and sort of I thought that was sort of the next step I was going to take after that year. Signed a new deal, and the following years after that I was just really inconsistent, in and out, and then I really doubted whether I was actually going to have a career, because it's that sort of 4 years to sort of 6 years where it's like it's the average sort of AFL lifespan, but it's you either go one way or the other at the end of it, and spent plenty of time sort of thinking that it was just going to fizzle out and sort of just going to see out the contract and be on my way. But was lucky enough to sort of play some good footy last year before I got ill, that sort of showed the club that I was sort of good enough to stick with. And it's been a real tough time the last few weeks years as a club. We've been hammered by injuries to all of our best players. We've had top ups playing for us. We've had waffle boys playing. It's been a bit of a shit show, to be honest. It's been a whirlwind, and we're sort of starting to come out of the other side of the injury stuff, and to this year where it's sort of fair bit's changed for me.
It's a strange year. It's just in general, but I want to talk about the moment of there was a really cool thing you said earlier around like you were warming Gov's so you're warming Kennedy's seat, Josh Kennedy's seat, and I love your honesty there, because I think even as a young bloke like myself and a lot of maybe young guys out there now, you can really rock up and just be like, it'll happen for me in 3 years. Wait till this guy comes, and I'll sort of take his position. And ultimately, in your own words, maybe I'm not sure if I'm speaking on behalf of you here, but that didn't happen. You were in and out because you sort of maybe continued that mindset. Like, when did it flick and when did it change? Or am I saying the right thing there? Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, it's been tough because the position that I was drafted in is like as a deep forward, but I've got Kennedy, Darling, and then Big Aussie Allen comes along, and it's sort of like, all right, well, I get little patches in games where I get to play my position, but I'm either playing second ruck or I'm half forward on the wing, or just playing the doom shift, just like anything. Simo always used to say to me, mate, your versatility is like a blessing and a curse, because like it's probably got you a few games over time, but it's like when things change, you're one of the first blokes I'm looking to throw around, and I get that. But there's been a few times over the journey where I've just been seeking just a bit more consistency, but I knew that with JK, with JD, with Oscar, that it just wasn't going to happen. It was unrealistic, and I'm a realist when it comes to everything about football, and at times, it might be a detriment to my confidence because I'm just not so biased on myself and I see things how they are. But the guidance that I've sort of copped from JK over the years is, there's so many people ask me, they're like in terms of JK being there, is it sort of holding you back? And I'm like, I'm getting taught by one of the great full forwards of all time. Like, this is gonna pay dividends one day, and now I can say it has. But it's a funny one because it's I'm pretty unselfish when it comes to my sort of role in the team. I've always been just like, give me a role, I'll do it. Give me something simple, I'll do it. But some of those roles you die a bit of a slow death with them because you just don't get rewarded, and they're very much compliant defensive roles and stuff like that. But I wouldn't have played as much footy as I have, I don't think, without sort of buying into that side of the game. And I think that's people watching football don't understand that stuff. And when I see, players cop shit on the internet and about being no good, and then I go watch them and I know exactly what they're doing. Like, they're doing the nitty gritty stuff that no one else wants to do.
Playing that high dog role, just running up and back.
There's none of the big dogs are doing that stuff. It's just like, it doesn't get rewarded enough. And I sort of went through that period where internally I was getting praised, but externally I was getting hammered. And you see stuff, you try not to open newspapers, open your phone, but you end up seeing that shit, and you would have gone through it as well at stages, I'm sure. But it's just like, it's like, when is this going to turn for me? I'm getting, for the amount of work I'm putting in, I'm not getting the rewards that I should be, you know, sort of thing. But yeah,
not many players, and you know the ones that we're sort of alluding to, and I think, you know, with the modern game now and a lot of fans, maybe their IQ of the game's gone up a bit. Like, obviously there's always going to be the people that just comment on what they see, and if you're not kicking six, they think you played a shit game. Not many of those guys that actually do those roles and, you know, are the team player, then turn around and become an All-Australian. Like, I can't really think of anyone.
I'm sure there'll be guys out there.
No, there's not.
Yeah,
I've thought about them all. There's literally not one.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I didn't get All-Australian because I was doing that stuff. Because I had a bit of a role change. I was playing pretty much out of the square, which is...
Yeah, but even the role change doesn't really happen, you know? Like, I feel like footy's a real... Sometimes it's quite a pigeonholed sport.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe in general in life, like, pigeonholing is quite a thing that even in yourself, you know, you cap yourself, you know what? I'm getting a game every week. I'm doing this. This is what I'm going to do forever. And, you know, you're playing footy, like, maybe I just stay doing this. But,
yeah. You know what, man? My role change sort of was a bit of luck because... Aussie Allen got injured in the second game and he missed sort of over 10 weeks, and that was sort of opened me up to spend more time closer to goal. And it's just funny how it all works, hey? Like, Oscar's one of my best mates. I want him to be out there. We're a better team when he's playing, but it's just like when he's not out there, it's like it sort of gets thrown to you a little bit, and you know, you spend more time closer to goals, you keep more goals. It's like, you know, pretty simple.
But it's also like, we speak about this with you know, high half forwards and midfielders all the time too. They're like, geez, you see like Ed Richards, like he's, you know, getting 25, 30 touches a game. And it's like, yeah, mate, because he's like playing midfield now. Yeah. Like, a lot of guys out there, if they were given the chance to start centre bouncers every week, could probably be, you know, in the All-Australian squad too. Not to mention it's very hard to do. But what do you think, like, mentally, was it something that you focused on that year? Or do you think it was just an evolution of like, you know what, you got a position, there's a lot of momentum that's happening, confidence is backing with it, and then all the hard work you'd sort of done to that period, and maybe even if you want to touch on, I'd love to touch on sort of your year prior of missing that footy, and you're saying about the gratitude and the experience of just like, you know what, fuck it, like maybe it shifted you a little bit to your decision making.
Well, that's exactly what it was, mate. It was just like, you know, I'll probably start on the back end of last year. Halfway through last year, we were away in Adelaide, and I just started feeling really sick, missed the game, flew home by myself. Next morning, had to take myself to hospital. I was no good. A week later, I found out I had a form of irritable bowel disease called ulcerative colitis, something I'd never heard of before. And for probably 2 months after that, just knocked me around. And throughout that period, footy was the last thing on my mind. I just wanted to be happy again. And I just gained a lot of, you know, you should know this stuff, the perspective and gratitude, but unless you're in it and you get it taken away from you and you're down and you're in the pits and there's sort of no way out sort of thing, it's when you really are exposed to it again. And coming back off the back of that year, my focus was just to get out, playing footy again, having fun with my mates, and sort of just going from there. And I just took every single bit of internal pressure off my shoulders, and just I knew that I had a really good pre-season, off-season, was fit, and I was just having fun. And that the sort of pre-Christmas period was like the funnest training block I've ever had in my whole life, because I was just out there kicking footies around. I was fit, so I wasn't tonguing it. I was just sort of in flow state pretty much when it comes to training. And come to this year, I was just trying to be happy around the boys and just trying to sort of just go out there and do my bit. And I was never caught up in performance. To be fair, I played pretty well the whole year, but I've never, like, this year I didn't get too caught up in it. I just didn't spend much time thinking about footy, to be fair. And it's just waking up, sort of smelling the roses a bit, even after you have a loss or play a bad game. And it's sort of changed my life a little bit, which is why, you know, I think to myself, why can't I just do this always? And now, sort of after this year and heading into next year, I'm facing something which is I've never faced before, where, you know, I'm probably going to have all this external pressure. Internally, the pressure will rise, and, you know, I'm a bit anxious about that, to be honest, because I'm just like, I have my whenever I've played my best footy in my career, it's when I've just dropped the pressure off myself and I've just gone sort of fuck it, like what will be. And, you know, heading into next year, I think that's going to be tough internally because, you know, you've got the label now, All Australian, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's something that there's going to be plenty of times in the upcoming year I'm going to have to revert back to, you know, mate, just remember where you're at. You know, there was a chance you're never going to play again, you know. There was a chance you're going to have to get a part of your colon cut out and wear a stoma attached to your stomach sort of thing. So, you know, it's the gratitude. You know, I'm on medication for this stuff. I go and get my infusion treatments and probably every 6 weeks. And when I go into the hospital and get those, I get a little sort of hit of perspective again because I'm looking across from me and, you know, a lot of cancer patients are getting infusion treatments and whatnot, and I'll be sort of sitting there thinking about my situation. I'm looking across at old lady who's sitting there and she's not looking great, but she's there. She's got a smile on her face, and I'm just like, mate, your scenario does not hold a candle. The tough times don't hold a candle to what these people are going through, and you know, I should be able to gain that gratitude and perspective just at click of a finger, but unless you see it, it's just like, yeah, okay, just remember, mate, like, you know, there's people far worse off than you.
Yeah. Well, mate, it's a habit. Like I've found myself, not to your extent before, but you know, you have those periods where it's like gratitude plays a massive role in your life. And I think I was even reflecting on this when I was in Bali too, around like, it is hard to be consistently grateful because you're almost like become grateful. You realize these things, this awesome thing happens, and then you almost just go, oh fuck, forget about that. Let's just like keep running until you hit another roadblock. Then you have to come back to it. And the goal is like, how do you consistently keep the perspective in your life? But yeah, it's a hard one to do.
Yeah, I actually think it's impossible, which is why no one's done it. It's just like,
you're probably right.
No, it's something that you need to consistently revert back to, and I'm definitely going to be tapping into that over the next sort of 12 months.
How has the I can't pronounce the
ulcerative colitis.
How has that affected your like day to day in terms of like with the hospital? Is it like dietary? Do you have to like eat different?
At the start, it was dietary. It was pretty heinous, mate. It was a tough slog to get back to sort of. Because
you lost about 11 kilos, is that right?
Yeah, sorry. I lost 12 in like a week, man, because I wasn't eating, and I was just like, the plumbing was just off, like both ends. I was just like going berserk.
Do they know why something like that comes about, or was it just random?
I think it's genetics or whatever, or just like, man, I'm not too sure. But yeah, it's within the sort of irritable bowel disease area, sort of Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, which are the two main ones. Mate, it did, but I think I've got back to a good lifestyle now. I'll have days, man, where I'll wake up and I'll be like, this is going to be a shit day, because you can just tell, like, you're in pain, throws your mood away. And the club have been really good to me, because I can see it coming from a mile away. I'll ring them up, be like, I need the day off, or I'll go in there and be like, mate, I'm no good. I need the session off, so just take it easy with today. And they're a massive reason as to why I'm doing what I'm doing, because they've been really good with me and taking their time with me to sort of get me back to where I need to be. But yeah, mate, I'll go into the hospital every 6 to 7 weeks and get this form of medication, which has pretty much changed my life, put my life back on track. Because it's an autoimmune disease, the infusion treatment is on a sort of immunosuppressant, which is great because it's helped me, but it's like, you know, I'm probably a bit more susceptible to sort of your common cold or flu or getting that, or the severity of that. So, you know, I actually had the flu before the Carlton game, my second last game, and I was knocked around. I was like, this feels like it's hurting way much more than it should be. So maybe that has something to do with it. But it's been a bit of a slog, and it sort of opened my eyes to sort of other parts of life. And you know, there's many people out there sort of carrying diseases and on medication every day. It's fine, but it's it's interesting.
Oh, it's good perspective, mate. And it seems like you've taken it with in your stride. You mentioned something before that was really interesting, and I loved your honesty on it. Was about, like, you know, you've been through that period, as you said, going through the illness into, you know, hitting some incredible form, hitting your straps, but now it sort of changes and going like, fuck, I've got to back this up. Like, you know, I know I can do it because you've obviously done it, but it sort of changes and the external pressure of that. In WA, or maybe personally first, like if you can elaborate on that a little bit more and like what you're doing, or if you're like even thinking about how you're going to combat that.
Yeah, I think...
do you work with anyone on like that, or is it just something...
Yeah, well, to be fair, you know, Matty Knights was our forward coach this year. He's headed back to Victoria, which is a massive loss, but his values just aligned with mine in terms of like your work rate and your contest. This is just the foundation of your game, and there are two things I do really well. And it was always like Jake, I don't care about goals, marks, blah, blah, blah. Do these two things right and walk off the ground with your head held high. So that's something that I consistently revert back to. And to be fair, if I get those things right, you don't always get it right. If you get those two things right, you're probably going to end up with 2, 3 or 4 yourself, like, to be fair. Yeah.
I like that.
But
sometimes more.
Yeah, sometimes. But yeah, it's...
What was your biggest bag this year?
6.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
Wasn't it the G though, was it?
Nah, so I'm gonna have games next year. It's just not working, and for me, it's just like, get those two things right, mate, and fuck what everyone else thinks, because that's the basis of your game, and you don't always get it right, but that's where I'll be reverting back to.
One thing, I'm sure you've reflected on this and other people may have, but I when Darcy and I were chatting this morning, just about the bits and pieces, we talk about the All-Australian stuff again, and, you know, in a team that has struggled as much as you guys have this year, it's really interesting, but also not so interesting to think like yourself and Jeremy McGovern in the team, and then you think about like what, you know, pre-season and training's like when... I'm probably curious on the question. It's like, I suppose you two are really matching up on each other a lot of training. You're obviously learning how to get off the best defender in the comp, and he's learning how to get off one of the best forwards in the comp too. Like it's interesting when you surround yourself with like a good opponent, what happens then to the improvement of both of you? Yeah,
we've had some battles, that's for sure. It's like a chess game with Gov, because you take one step that way, he's taking one step the other, because he's just a genius. Like he will back himself in to read the ball 100 times out of 100 versus actually playing on you, and that's why he's a 5-time All-Australian. One of the probably changed the way defence is in the AFL, if we're going to be honest about it. But he's not the only one. You know, Tom Barras, Shannon Hearn, that guy, like he used to torment me. I used to rock up to pre-season like scared. He'd be playing on me and he'd know he's smashing me, taking intercept marks, just haven't touched it, and he'll be like, he'll call over to the trainer and like be like, hey, can you like bring over Jakey a towel, because I'm like giving him a bath or something like that. And I'm just like, I'm sitting there like borderline crying, because he's like, he's just killing me. But I always knew that playing on those guys was just like, even though I was getting thumped and getting embarrassed, it was going to pay off, and it was going to help me as a footballer. And because they're all like sort of proactive defenders, like some of my best games this year have been sort of playing on guys that play in that same manner, because I sort of just know where to go playing on those blokes. But it's funny that, you know, playing in one of the lower teams in the comp on the ladder, that, you know, I get in the side and so does he. I mean, it probably makes more sense with him, because he's got so many more opportunities to get involved in the game, because we're just conceding inside 50s more than any other team. I guess it makes sense for me as well that I've snuck in with given limited supply, I guess. But I mean, Gov's been amazing for me, mate. I've always been a bit of a pre-season hero. And he calls me the November nightmare, because he's just like,
he normally doesn't go to pre-season, does he?
Yeah, well, mate, I mean, he's a vet, so he just sort of, he rocks up in good nick, but he's just like,
I've heard the story though, like through just loosely of people of like him rocking up to pre-seasons and Simo beat him in the 2Ks and stuff. That
was before my time, but he tells me about when he rocked up and he did like nearly a month in Thailand with his mates, because he's an Albany boy down south, like country boy, like didn't quite get it at the start of his career, and like apparently rocked up like a week before pre-season, went back and was getting smoked by like the coaches in the 2K, and got sent back to Claremont for like, I don't know, however many weeks, and
Unbelievable.
Yeah, mate, it's unbelievable. I can't even fathom like what he's done as a footballer.
It really is unbelievable. Like
I look at old sort of footage of him, and he used to be big. Like he's a big boy. You look at him now, he's like chiseled with.
Do you know what? I actually think he debuted against Carlton.
Yeah.
I reckon
might have.
I'm 99% sure.
Forward, big gov.
He started up forward, and he debuted against Carlton, and it was a game that anyway, we beat them at Etihad Stadium, I remember, and I'm 99% sure he debuted. I want to fact check that, Darcy, if you can. I'm pretty sure it was the one. Did you say what happened in the game?
Go on.
Did you say what? Were you asking what happened?
I was just about to.
Okay, sorry. What happened was we're down by about 20, and I kicked one to sort of level us again.
Yeah.
And then we ended up winning. So
it wasn't that one that you kicked and you celebrated before.
No, that was
a point. I was at the G. That was a different one.
No, he's a star.
Yeah,
no, Darcy's checking that for us to see if he did debut then, but wasn't too sure. But I was actually just thinking about the whole thing, and this is probably so obvious now and dumb that I'm even thinking about it, but you do look at teams in general of like, no doubt having really good players in teams makes other players better. And you look at like, I was thinking about this in the Giants. I went up to the Sydney Giants final on the weekend, and I was looking at the Giants backs and forwards, and I was like, fuck, like how good is their team in general, but like how good's their backs and their forwards? I was like, well, you think about training pre-season when it's like, that's nearly, I don't know if you agree with this, but I genuinely think that's harder than playing games sometimes. The competitiveness of those, know, in your own team is like harder than some fucking games.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you think about like Connor Iden coming in trying to play on Toby Green, sets him up for the year to have a year to play on blokes like Papley and all these other alikes too. So it just shows like for young players and people out there, like if you do surround yourself with the best, it's going to make it. And the question I came earlier was, it's eerily similar. Like, I watch you play and how you were saying before about Josh Kennedy, and I remember just in my brain, like when I was at Carlton, we'd come up against West Coast and we'd always like talk about how to play on Josh Kennedy, because for a big guy, he wasn't really a contested mark player. He'd run back towards goal and then just dart back up at the footy and just sort of like hit up. He'd just be the bet. You couldn't stop him hitting up. And it's like you have very similar sort of leading patterns now. Like, is that something that you reckon you've sort of like grown off each other?
Yeah,
or?
for sure. I mean, Kenners is a beast. Like some of his stuff back in the day, mate. He was like, in terms of like power, endurance, man. He would just destroy himself out in the field, eh?
Yeah.
But I mean, we're all pretty close. Like Kenners, Lacroix was great. Lecker was great. He was like, he taught me real early on about like little phone box movements, and he was a master at like playing sort of high half forward, and he would always find a way to get open. Like he was a genius at that stuff. Jamie Cripps had taught me about just work rate, and like, man, we call them like Cripper runs. Like, you see that bloke, man, he'll be in the back 50 and 2 seconds later he'll be in the goal square. Like the leads that you just got to put your head down, run to the fat side as hard as you can, not knowing whether you're going to get the ball or not, and just put your head down and go. And then JD just on top, just a beast all round. Like the minds that we've got in that forward line with Oscar as well. Oscar's so smart. We just bounce off each other, and I mean, there's no coincidence that, man, you probably look at my game and you think that I've got similar little traits as JK. I mean, I've nowhere near the player he was, but when you spend years just watching some guy sitting in on his footage, watching him playing alongside him, you just pick up the little things like that.
He was so good. Like, I just remember how hard guys would try and stop him. They'd try and play him like back shoulder, and he'd just be running away and just darts. Like, you just couldn't stop his power. He's
strong.
So strong. The other one that I'd love to, you just brought it up, and I wasn't going to, but you brought it up because on Footy and Friends too, I always respect the high half forwards because I know how hard that role is, especially with like unrewarded running. And was talking once about Jamie Cripps being like, this guy, man, like people don't understand how fucked this guy runs. Like, I don't know if it's the same at West Coast, but there's when you read the GPSs after games, and obviously you can see the kilometres that you run.
Sprint meters.
Yeah, but then there's a high intensity running, which I don't know if it's the same now, but back when I was there, it was like meters. your distance over 24 kilometers an hour or something like that,
Yeah,
which is
it's like similar. I think it's like 85% of your max or something like that.
There you go.
Yeah,
So something like you have to be sprinting and it measures your kilometers of you sprinting. I'm sure his numbers of that would be like something ridiculous.
More so back in the day when we were playing like really good, the ball movement was up there.
Yeah.
When the ball movement's no good, it's just sort of like you don't have the opportunities to make those big runs. And there was some games where he was getting like up around a kilometre of sprint. So, mate, you just go and sprint 2.5 laps of the oval like as fast as you can. Like it's a long time, especially in a game of football. There's plenty of other little parameters of measurements and stuff that are really impressive by Cripper, but man, that bloke just works himself like to the bone. It's changed over time because when he was playing, when he first came across from St Kilda, he was probably playing the shock and roll, the half forward, just up and back, doing the real team thing. It's probably changed over the years to him being sort of more of a focal point within the forward line and kicking more goals and stuff like that. But to play, he brought up his 250th this year. To play 250 games in that position in the AFL it's almost like playing 400 as a key back.
The turnover of that role is like one a year nearly.
You think about the kilometres he would have clocked over the years and you compare him to someone else, they'd just be miles apart. And it does my head in the lack of external plaudits he gets, but internally he's a god to us. But like, if I was him, it would make me angry. Like externally, like he's just not getting the rewards, but he loves it that way. He just doesn't want to be like,
loves a beer too.
Oh yeah,
I met him at Crippers because I think they're cousins.
Yeah, they're cousins. Yeah,
and Josh Kennedy's related somehow as well, or is he just
they're
mates
all
with?
They're all Northampton boys. So up north.
So I met Cripper.
Was he?
He'd had a couple.
Yeah, no, he's
I think he wanted to kill me.
He turns the corner pretty quickly.
I felt like he wanted to bash me.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah,
wouldn't be the first.
Nah.
Wouldn't be the first.
Nah. No, I wouldn't take it personally, mate.
No. It's just like Tom Barras not replying to my messages either.
Yeah, mate. It does the same to me, mate.
I don't mind.
You got to go with it. Get out of a big job.
Got to go with it. The number changes. Two things. I'm going to come back to the number change because I want to talk about the West Coast one more thing before we move on. This year, remiss of us not to talk about it, like with Adam Simpson, coaches, club in general, Western Australian media, all those things that I suppose get spoken about a lot here, but maybe in Victoria, we don't see a lot of it. Like you obviously know, like, fuck, there's a bit going on, but when you're in Vic, it just sort of, it doesn't get, maybe penetrate as much. How crazy was this year, and like how did you see it unfolding as a club? Like I've been to clubs where coaches are getting sacked and boards are fucking going crazy, and what was it like?
I mean, I don't know why it's like that. I guess it's because we're such a big state and we're a two team state, whereas over in Melbourne there's however many teams, so there might not be as much of a spotlight on certain teams over there. But yeah, the media's sort of become pretty volatile sort of over the last couple of years, and unfortunately Simo sort of copped a lot of the brunt, to the point where it just, it's like there's no words to even describe it. Like he sees it, we all see it. It's like if you bring it up in conversation with him, it's just like, what am I going to say? Like he's just getting hammered. Like,
how was he taking that throughout the weeks? Like was he playing, like do you have to normally laugh at it? Like how do you...
Yeah, Simo's pretty like stoic in the way, like he's stoic in the way he goes about it. Like he's just like he just takes it in his stride. He's like a champ like that. But he knows, like he gets it. Yeah. But he's also like, there are a few times where he's just like, what am I supposed to do? Like, what is that shit? Like I think there was one on the back page, the day after he got sacked was like the last sort of 55 games that had L.
I saw that one.
Like, it's just like, well, that's not a way to send off a premiership coach who's been here since 2014 and given his all to the club. But yeah, the turnover was difficult. It was really surreal the morning, because it was just like it didn't come out of the blue, but it was you sort of felt something was going to happen. And it was weird, man. We just sort of rocked in and like we had an itinerary of what was going on and things weren't happening. It was just like we were like waiting to train, and then waiting to prep, and the coaches were
waiting
walking
out on
around
the mats and just.
Oh, mate, we're all just like, because you can pick up what's going on. Like, you're just like what the fuck's happening? Like, boys are talking, and then the coaches, the assistant coaches are walking around going, we've got a footy department meeting in 10 minutes. Like, just wait, we'll be out in a sec. And then, we all just got summoned to the lecture theatre where we all sit, and Simo walked in and told us. And then I actually wasn't training that day because I had a jab on my knee, so I went and spoke to Simo straight after. He was sort of up in the lounge of MRP, standing there by himself, just watching training. I went in there and had a really good chat with him for like 20 minutes, just one-on-one, and it was very raw because like hadn't quite seen him like that before, and he was really open with me about sort of what was going on, and you can't help but feel sorry, but you could at the same time you could tell it was just a massive relief that sort of it had happened, because he did say that he sort of felt it was coming, and imagine that, like you feel like you're just gonna get told that that's it, like every day for a while, and it's just I mean, I can't thank him enough personally. I mean, he gave me my first game, let me live out a boyhood dream, and although I probably got dropped more times than some blokes have had hot dinners, it was every time you get
just
the call
on the way out.
Yeah.
Did you sort of say in like, if you hadn't dropped me, things could have been different, mate?
No, it wasn't the time. I think I'll leave that one unsaid. But
you reckon he just knew? Yeah.
Every time he called me to tell me I was back in, it was just like that you're playing your first game again. It was so cool. But that old waiting at 4:30 for the phone to go for the teams to come out, man. I'll just usually just stare at my phone like 4:27, 4:28.
Like why they just they must know you're just sitting there fucking waiting for a call.
Yeah, but at the same time,
there's 44 other blokes that are probably doing the same thing.
There's decisions to be made, and you get that. It's just
I get that 100%.
Nah, all good. Those good man.
Do you see him coaching again? Would you see him going back to coaching? I think I've actually probably never met him. No, I definitely have never met him, but I really respect what he's done, and I loved a 2018 Eagles for some reason just stands out to me like Weagles Webb. I just remember it must be my peak love of footy or something. I just remember how good that team was. He's obviously knows what he's doing and can do it again. Do you think he'd stay in footy? Apparently he owns like 100 Hungry Jacks or something.
Yeah, he's got a few of those, so I think he's living off those at the moment. Yeah,
we went to Hungry Jacks last time we were here because we don't really have that in Victoria.
Hungry Jacks?
No.
Yeah, well, he's got a few of them. I think he's going to spend a bit of time. That's just at
Hungry Jacks.
Yeah. I mean, if you drive through at Hungry Jacks, he might actually probably head out and give you in.
No, he seems like such a good dude.
Yeah, he's actually so funny when you have a chat to him. But I don't think he'll be getting footy for a little bit. I reckon he needs a bit of time off.
Yeah, I can imagine.
That's probably what I'd say to him, mate. Just go and chill.
Go to Bali.
Yeah, legit.
Your number change. Did you have 2 number changes or only 1?
No, 1.
So 40. What number?
45.
45.
2. Yeah.
To 2.
Yeah.
Was that because why did you change? Was it Nikoski?
No, Lacroix. It was
Lacroix.
Yeah.
But was he 12 then too?
He started at 19.
19.
No, he went to 2. No, I don't think. No, not.
Was it like I always just like number changes. Was it like something in it around it, or did you just when you left?
He
just a relationship.
Me, we always got on really well, and I always used to just like really give him the time of day because I was just a sponge, just wanted to learn everything. And I don't know, I think he just must have saw something in me. I think he liked playing with me as a teammate because I just got my job done most of the time.
Yeah.
And then I don't know when it was. I think it might have been at our best in Ferris. I was just chatting to him and he sort of just said mate, if I would love you to wear my number. And to be honest, my dad's number was available that year as well, so the 39. And I spoke to him and I was like, I've got your number or Lekker's number on the table. And he's like, mate, take Lekker's number. And I was sort of just like, well, why? And he's like, mate, that's a massive honour to be passed down by him. As much as it would be cool to have you in my jumper, go and make your own thing as a Waterman yourself. Don't get out of my shadow a little bit. Go do your own thing. And I know I'm sort of jumping into Lekker's number, which is it's different. It's separate. But yeah, that was cool because he was like, I always used to I was a bit of a footy nuffy growing up, and I'd have like Mark Lacroix as like my screensaver on my phone, and like Josh Kennedy, mate, like you know, you do that as a kid, man. Oh, you might have just missed the boat. You might have been knocking your first 6 fives when you were back.
I was into like, I think I had a pager.
Righto, there you go.
It's just like a pager as a kid. Yeah.
But yeah, I was such a nuff, and Dad.
What's the nuffest thing you ever did as a kid?
Probably that. I used to because my dad was a coach in the waffle.
Yeah.
I always used to he coached like
give the boys rub downs.
Nah, he coached like Subi and Peel, and I used to I would like add the league players on Facebook and like message them like, great game today.
That's awesome.
And then I'd see him in person, and then I'll just like shit the bed. But like that's the beauty of it, man.
It's the best, mate.
Oh, it's the best.
It's the like, fucking best. It is. I missed like when you get a message now. I know, and you're saying, you know, like it's a little bit about.
I respond.
Yeah,
sometimes.
I try to do it as much as I can. It does like it, mate. I'm so grateful for everything. But I remember when I was a kid and like would go down to any footy club, like anyone, let alone a footy player versus someone that's like a fucking year older than you is like a hero, and you forget that a little bit. So like I always try and make it like the time of day for people that are like that are there for it. It's the best feeling ever.
So, yeah, you can just imagine what they're going through when they see your name pop up on the phone. It's just like, man, I used to be like ecstatic, and these are just like waffle league and reserves players. Yeah, man. I was getting autographs after games, like going into the huddles, listening to Dad spray him and all that. I was just like, I was so entrenched with it. But
it's fantastic. I love it. What are you doing outside of footy?
I'm slowly getting my way through a secondary PE, health and PE teaching degree. So I'm about halfway.
Those who can't teach PE.
Yes. Yes,
that's exactly. A quote off a movie. That wasn't.
No.
What is that off? It's off.
I know.
It's
I
off
know
a
you mean.
movie or something.
At the start, I was.
It's off School of Rock, I think.
Yeah, maybe. Sounds about right.
Maybe not.
I was at the start, the club was like really keen for you to do something outside of footy, and at the start I just did it to sort of tick a box and just get the careers blokes off my back, and I really started enjoying it, and it's sort of separates me a little bit, makes me feel good about myself that I'm starting to think about something post footy, because you know you see a lot of guys, like a lot of my team, I'm lucky that I've been around for a while now, but you can see a lot of guys 2 or 3 years on the list and they're just gone, and they just sort of they struggle with that sort of post sort of time in their life. But yeah, I'm very keen to lock something down, or at least get started. I'm part-time, halfway through a degree. I'm probably gonna have to be a 30-year-old uni student going hanging out with the young fellas and just chilling with them and getting it done. But it's something that I'm pretty proud of, because I could have easily just thrown it in. And
100%, mate. It's a tough, like I tried university as well. I actually did 2 universities PE, teaching at both. I was like, that one's too hard, I'm gonna go to this one. That one was fucking harder. Like I just couldn't do it.
It's pretty hard.
I admire anyone who can study and do a full-time job at the same time. It's bloody difficult. But I think the more you can just be lack of a better word, like balanced in terms of off field, just sets you up for success. Because those struggles that you said, like a lot of people do face that, because it is hard, and it's not so much that I like to say it's not what you don't work out what you want to do, you work out what you don't want to do. So just keep trying as much shit as you can and working it out. But there's a long career to go, that's for sure. Dustin, we find out if McGovern debuted in that game.
Yeah, he did.
He did.
How good is that? Well done,
yeah,
mate.
I remember.
He had 6 and 1.
Sorry, I had 20 and 1.
6 and 1.
26 and 1.
26 and 1. Well, that's pretty good. I was a good player. The question I had was, I respect if you don't want to talk about this, but we saw an article before, so it's on an article, so you have to talk about it. Was before you re-signed at West Coast, were you like getting a deal, maybe not getting a deal or something, but you were looking around at other clubs as well? Because it said that were you potentially going to go to Fremantle?
Nah, I think it was an interesting time, because
that would be huge, like back then, because like
not many blokes have done it. Yeah, I think
there's a couple COVID top-ups. We were looking at it before.
Oh, there you go.
Stephen Gyro?
Yes. I think it was a weird time, because I'd sort of started negotiating a deal when I was still playing, and then fell ill.
Yes.
And then I understand it's hard to negotiate a contract when you're in a hospital bed.
Yep.
But then sort of coming out the other side, started training again, and I was just like, the offer was just didn't feel it was reflective of what I did in the first half of the year. But then I was also like, I'm a realist in the way I see it. I was like, yeah, I'm ill, and there's a bit of uncertainty with my condition and stuff. But I think that was just from politics, the management side of the thing, which was, I hate that shit. And
it's hard, man, isn't it?
I hate it. And there's been a bit of stuff in the media this year about myself, and I understand that there's that part of footy and the management side, but I'm also just like, it's not where my values lie.
Because now that I had actually forgotten about this, but it's if you're happy to talk about it, because I remember, I think Kane Corns had a go at you, not had a go at you, but like chatted to you this year about like, you'd been sick, copped a deal, and then looking to sign on again, but he was saying you should be repaying the club, whereas you hear your side of the story, and it's like the other way too. So it's like, where does it sit? But I can tell you don't like talking about that stuff. Like, it's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. And obviously, Kane's very. I actually love Kane.
I love Kane.
Oh mate, he doesn't pull any punches, and clearly he's seen one.
Punch you in the face.
Yeah, it's just belt the fuck out of me.
You've copped a stray.
Yeah. But I mean, it's and I'm not much of a comment checker, but on that one, I was just like, because I don't agree. I need to see what other people think, and to be fair, I had a fair backing, and I was just like, at least I'm not tripping out here. Like
7 out of, if you get like 6 out of 10,
I think anything over 60% is like,
you're okay.
I'm all good.
Yeah,
but I mean, I think anyone else in that situation that sort of facing what I was doing,
you've always got to. Man, the comment stuff, Darcy,
it's wild.
Has to pick me up off the floor a few times, sometimes throughout the week, after some fucking random with a Holden as their display picture calls me a fuckwit, and I take it like, I take it as I am the worst person in the world. Like, I'll have a million messages saying like, learnt so much from the Waterman pod, Tom Barras, what a legend, even though he doesn't reply back to my messages, or someone like that's changed my life. But as soon as some fucking idiot calls me a dickhead and hates the show, I'm like, I'm a loser.
Mate, you know what? I don't really talk about my comments, but like sometimes you check your message requests at the top right of your messages, and I copped it last week for getting in the All-Australian team. Yeah, over guys like Charlie and I was just like, what? Why are you messaging me?
Yeah, you're never gonna, mate. You just can't win it all.
You can't. Yeah, it's impossible to please everyone, and I sort of just felt like going back, like
you can't bite.
You can't, man.
You can't.
I'll just delete them all and get on with it.
Yeah, you've just got to cop it in your stride and just carry on. But it's always rattled me why, like, I've never
why would you do
felt the need to do that personally. But there was one time I have.
Going back?
No, there was one time I've actually like thought about messaging someone.
Who was it?
It's so random. It was this show. I was watching this like series, and this actress, she was this girl on the show, and she was so conniving on the show. And I was like...
She's acting, or is this like...
No, she's acting. Okay. And I was like, I wanted to message her and say like, you've done so well at acting that I feel so much hatred towards you, but I know it's not you. It's the character you played. But like, great job. But also, I fucking hate you. Like, it was crazy how well she did the role. I didn't do that because I am not an idiot. Yeah. But it was almost a reflection of good on you, how good that was.
Yeah, I don't think that's what's going on in our line of work. But yeah, mate, it's always interesting.
It is, mate. What's on for the rest of it? So Bali, pre-season, and anything else to sort of head into Christmas? When you go back into the club, and hey, so what about a coach? Do you even know who's doing that yet?
No, mate, it's going to be interesting. I'm a bit anxious, but I'm also excited about sort of the next sort of little bit. Obviously, there's still finals to play out, so I'm sure.
Is that the messaging that potentially post grand final? Something?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there'd be some candidates that are still coaching. Okay. So I mean, if they're going to go through a full process and fully interview people, then they've got to wait until the season's done. I think that's probably the right thing to do. But yeah, I mean, it's just massive change. It's a bit uncharted at the club at the moment because not only are we sort of going through a rebuild, so we're going to lose some great men from the playing group, which is it's a shit time of the year, but it's going to be probably coaches as well, and it sucks, but it's just probably where we're at the moment in terms of what needs to be done, and Yeah, I see there's new candidates sort of every day in the media and stuff, and I don't really buy into that because people just say whatever. But I just want to know. Like, I'm like a fan. I just want to know, and I just want to go in, shake their hand, and go like, yeah, let's get to work. Let's do this. I want to meet new coaches. I want to hear new game plans. I want to meet new players. It's going to be interesting to see what happens around sort of trade and draft. There's obviously a bit of speculation about some guys coming to the footy club, but. We've got a fair bit of work to do as a club, and it's going to be.
It's going to be huge. So speculation. There's obviously Jack Graham, who I don't know if that's nominated, but he's a restricted or unrestricted free agent, and potentially Liam Baker as well. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, well, I know both of them pretty
Bakes?
well. I played 18s with Bakes.
Do you like the way he bloody kicks the ball inside 50?
Oh yeah, I do. But I did. I was in the RS sort of team with Jack Graham.
Oh, nice, yeah.
And Jack Graham was the best underage player I've ever seen.
Yeah, apparently just an incrable bloke.
Under 15, legend. They're both legends. Under 15s. It was when I was shit back then. I was sort of playing for WA and it was shit. He was, I think he got like the MVP of the tournament. I looked at this kid and I was like, he's probably the same size as he is now back then. I was like, I can't hack it with this. Like, amazing. Anyway, yeah, keen to get them both over. Hopefully, they both get here.
Yeah. Is there anyone else that it would even just like not even names, but
my wish list or
your wish list of wish list of even just positional wish lists or something like that? Like, what do you think that you'd really like? Is it just a stack of midfield and get a really good team around Harley? Like, I haven't spoken about Harley today, but
it's
it's pretty cool.
Yeah, he's a pretty cool player. It's an interesting one because with the draft this year, there's not really like a Harley Reid or like a standout. There's, from all reports and just from what I've seen, there's probably like around 6 or 7 guys that all sort of sit around the same level, which, you go from picking best available to what your needs are. And I think as a midfield, you look at our midfield, Elliot Yeo had a great year, Tim Kelly, All Australian, Harley, and there's a couple other young guys sort of floating through there. The game's won and lost in the midfield, so you want to make sure that everything's going good in there. But obviously losing TB, or probably going to lose TB by the looks of things, you don't know how long the big governor's got left. So whether you look for a key position defender or a running half back to get the ball movement going, or
that's exciting though. I love I'm so excited for end of season. Like, I just love play movement. I love that side. It sounds like I love your excitement around this stuff too. Like, a lot of players, I think, used to shy away from knowing a lot about the draft or trade period and stuff. But I think now, like, the modern players really excited by that and loves the business of the game. Yeah,
I think that over the last couple of years, everyone's sort of been crying out for more play movement. I think it's starting to become sort of more accepted. And I mean, there's obviously the big deals that are going on, but there's the players that sort of, I like the sit around the sort of 18th to sort of 24th player on the list that are seeking new opportunities or a greater role elsewhere, which is I think what's happening a lot at the moment. And yeah, it's exciting. I mean, I'm lucky that I'm at a place where I love, and I work 20 minutes from home, and I haven't never needed to leave home. But it's exciting for the footy club to get 18-year-olds coming through, and also more mature guys that can come in and have an impact straight away. But it definitely gives the media and people a lot to talk about. That's for sure.
Very exciting. You look at how quickly things can change these days too. Like, look at Hawthorn this year. Lost the first 5 games. I think we were saying this on Footy Friends this week, but if they had beat Port Adelaide,
what a team throughout
the year, it would have been an 8-point swing, and they actually could have finished second. I don't know if that's true. Yeah, it does say it's
so
true.
Exciting.
It's fucking crazy. And you even think about it in the sense of this year, it's been a tough year for you guys, but it's also been the toughest comp that's ever been. So things can change so quickly.
I miss the old footy tipping back in the day where it was just, you're getting eight at least.
Yeah,
8 or 9 at least. Now you're lucky to get 3 or 4.
I made up a rumour as well that this is not true at all, but I just made up a rumour because I like trades that West Coast are going to go hard at Chad Warner. I don't want him to leave the Swans. I don't even know why I'm bringing that up, but I just love Chad Warner,
mate,
and I think that it could be cool.
He's a champ. I would love him. You know, colours. I actually sat with him on the same table at the awards the other night.
Trade rumours is coming West Coast. They sat on the table together.
No, I was actually sitting next to the Liz. Good man.
Oh, yes. So he's coming too.
Yeah, Heaney. Yeah.
Fuck, yeah, the three of them.
Got them all over.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so good.
We're getting a lot horse, apparently. He's coming to play.
Do you know why they actually call him Horse?
Oh, I don't know. He's a big fella. I walked past him at the airport not long ago, and I was like, he's a horse.
Yeah. I don't know, but everyone's asking.
See what happens.
I think apparently he just loves horses. Anyway,
no.
Hey, mate, been awesome to catch up today.
You.
Congratulations on this year. Super exciting. You've absolutely dominated. Can't wait to see what you get up to next year. It's all in a good place, mate. But love to link up, have a good chat, and really appreciate your time.
Thank you, mate. Thanks for having me.
Love you. Thank you, mate. Bye.